Hello and welcome to round one here at Grand Prix Dallas-Fort Worth. Maria Bartholdi in the booth, joined by Kenji Igashira and, of course, Rich Hagan as well. And there you can see we've got a great feature match for you here in round one. Harrison Harp there on the left side of your screen, just 12 years old, loves reading, made day 2 of his first GP, which was a modern GP, so congratulations to Harrison there.
And on the right of screen, behind Harrison Ashford, is Harrison Harp's mum, Mariah.
Oh, yes, I can see. Hi, Mom. Watching your kids play this weekend's got to be really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the battle of the Harrisons here in round one.
Right, and I know that the grandparents are back at home watching Twitch right now. So hi to grandparents as well. You get the full family experience here on round number one of Grand Prix Dallas-Fort Worth. All right, we're in action. Away we go, Maria.
All right, excellent. Harrison is going to, well, I should say Harrison Harp leading things off with the Forest here. Harrison Ashford is going to do the same, but he's got a little adventure in his step here, Kenji. How do you like this card?
It's pretty good, especially in sealed where you're trying to dig for your most powerful creatures. And then if, early game you're looking for those lands, or even late game if you're looking for those lands, it can help you filter for those as well. It's kind of like a green ponder, we call it, something like Oath and Nissa type effect. But overall, not too shabby. You're happy to play the first.
Overall, how do you feel about green in this format?
I think green's quite good. A lot of high power commons and uncommons, and oftentimes, it allows you to splash for other colors because you have cards like Grow from the Ashes to help you get those significant splashes. And the thing is, there are a ton of good multicolor green cards. You have Tatyova, you have Slimefoot, and so these are just easy splashes and cards that you do want to play in these sealed pools.
Harp here is going to add some Saprolings to the battlefield with a little Saproling migration. Mm-hmm. Don't need to kick it on turn 2. Just make some Saproling friends.
Yeah, sometimes you want to just get aggressive. It's especially good if you have, say, Song of Free Elise. Just get those 2 bodies down on turn 2.
All right, red mana here for Harrison Ashford. Pass the turn back over to Harp. 2 Saprolings in play. We can see that white now is Harp's second color. We're going to add a Knight of New Benalia to the battlefield, a 3/1. Attack in for 2, dropping Ashford down to 18.
Yeah, green-white, generally a more go-wide aggressive strategy in draft. Probably the same here in sealed for Harrison Harp. Wouldn't be surprised if he has, say, a Shauna Sisse's Legacy.
That card has actually impressed me more than I thought it would.
Oh, yeah, it's very annoying. let's put it that way. It's very annoying.
Mini hexproof.
Right, absolutely.
Can't be targeted by abilities. There's a Tolarian Scholar there for Harrison Ashford. Just a 2/3 for 3, and Harrison Ashford packing 3 colors we can already see.
Mm-hmm. So red-blue is more slanted toward Wizards. Green, though, I'm not sure what he's going to be paired up with that. The thing is, 2/3s in this format are surprisingly decent.
Yes, they are.
Because, it is going to be a little bit slower, and people are playing a lot of these smaller creatures. You can see at Harp's side, he had a 3/1 and 2 1/1s, and the 2/3 just basically stopped them all, trading with the 3/1 there.
So Knight of New Benalia goes down to that attack from the Tolarian Scholar, and here's a card we just talked about, Call the Cavalry. Harp is going to add 2/2/2 Vigilant Knights to the battlefield, so we're all on tokens here on Harp's side.
Yeah, that was a great trade, getting the Tolarian Scholar off the battlefield. Now, these 2/2/2s don't have so much of an issue. Plus, if Harrison Harp has any combat trick, he can pretty much just attack in with everything next turn.
All right, Baloth Gorger here is a play for Ashford. That's a beefy creature, 4/4 for 4.
Yeah, you don't get much better in Limited than just classic 4/4 for 4. You're generally going to play them if you can. The double green sometimes stops you from casting it on curve, but hey, it's good later on as well because the kicker.
But what's a 4/4 for 4/4?
Yes?
Attacking and blocking,
That was
Rich.
a question. There we are. You see, Maria got that.
Exactly this position.
Llanowar Envoy was Harp's play there, which, how do you like this card if you're trying to fix your mana, or is it just too slow?
It's the last card that you want to play if you're trying to fix your mana. A lot of times I would just rather run another land of the splash color if I'm going to play it. But, of course, a 3/2 body for 3 is not completely terrible, and sometimes you're just running it as the body even if you're not splashing anything.
Here's one of my favorite cards in the set, Cloud Reader Sphinx from Ashford. So we've got a big 3/4 flyer, and he gets to scry, too.
Oh, yeah, this is one of my most drafted commons in the set. The Cloud Reader Sphinx is just so good. 3/4 body, huge in this format. Scry 2 is oftentimes just equating into draw 2, if you bottom 2 lands or 2 irrelevant spells later or early enough in the game.
It's almost impossible for it to disappoint, right? It's like,
yeah.
Yes, okay, there's going to be a world in which you're chump blocking
Exactly.
a 5/5 piece of nonsense, but fundamentally, it's just every single time, it's just great.
Exactly.
I think we've got a daring archaeologist on the way here for Harp.
Okay, this card's pretty good. It might allow him to attack with one of his creatures eventually, the Daring Archaeologist itself, on a following turn, of course, because it can get pumped up from historic spells.
Taking a read there, let's take a look at it as well. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's very flavorful. I really like that. And whenever you cast a historic spell, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it.
Yeah, and I think R&D call those self-enablers. Like the idea that you get the artifact back, which guarantees you have the first historic spell to do. So,
all right, so here's one of our favorite cards in the set. I think I can pretty safely say Tatyova, Benthic Druid here. Play a land, gain a life, draw a card. What more do you want, Kenji?
This is one of the cards that I was talking about. You're always going to try to splash for in your green decks. It is just so good. Like 5 mana, 3/3. Okay, those stats aren't great, but they're perfectly fine. But anytime a land enters the battlefield, you gain a life, you draw a card. You know, green, they have cards like Grow from the Ashes. You play that, you kick it. Oh, that's 2 cards, 2 life, in addition to getting 2 land. It's just, ugh.
Oh, sweet.
Every turn that stays on the battlefield is going to make it that much harder for Harrison to close out the game. And, you know, he wants to be aggressive here, but, well.
Yeah, we've got some walls put up here by Ashford. And we saw an Adventurous Impulse there from Ashford. Got a Naban, Dean of Iteration. So this card can get kind of silly in a Wizards deck, I found.
So he's playing blue and red. We haven't seen the red splash, but with blue you have Academy Journey Mages. So if you Naban into Academy Journey Mage, you get to bounce 2 creatures. That's not too shabby.
Incidentally, I just want to apologise. As you can see, we've got some gremlins in the works at the top of the screen. We're working to fix that, and we'll keep you in touch as the game progresses. But not quite sure, because this didn't happen yesterday. So we'll get on that and hope to bring you live totals in usual fashion as soon as we can.
I believe we're still at 28-18. I'm not. I don't think there's been any other attack.
Not grinding at all.
19 there because of Tatyova. Yeah.
7 minutes in, 1 life point. Yep. So this should take care of rounds 1 to 3.
I was playing in a special streamer event where we were playing Draft from Dominaria, which you were as well, Kenji.
Yep.
And I was playing against Kibler, and he had a Naban out, and he was able to double Skin Witch trigger to make me discard 4.
Caligo Skin Witch is so good.
It was so awful.
So what you're saying is it was only me who wasn't invited. Thanks. You just carry on having your little conversation about your extra special draft that you got invited to on the invite-only invitation list.
It was a really good time, wasn't it?
Oh,
it was
I hate
such
you
a great
both.
time, Kenji.
I hate you so much.
And they sent us free pizza
my
afterwards.
God, I hate you even more.
Well, I didn't get that.
Oh, well, maybe that was just me picking up the phone and ordering. I don't know. But yeah, this is, I think, a pretty good illustration maybe of how sealed is going to go in Dominaria, because we have Harp over here trying to be aggressive and playing some pretty well-costed creatures and spells and that kind of thing. But Ashford's just been able to put down a wall just by doing what you do normally, which is play creatures out of your hand, and that Baloth Gorger being one of the keys.
I really love decks that have double sapling migration, because it kind of psychologically frees you up to be happy to play the first one as 2/1/1s for 2 when you know that you've got that turn 6 one lurking in your back pocket somewhere. So,
unfortunately, that second migration is not going to happen. It was met by an Unwind from Ashford, which counters target non-creature spell, and then you get to untap 3 lands.
It was a surprise Unwind, too. You saw that Navigator's Compass come down the turn prior, and he turned one of his forests into an island to be able to cast that. Now, Navigator's Compass, not a great card. Not a great card. Don't get me wrong.
LSV said you definitely should never ever play this, and friends don't let friends play Navigator's Compass.
Right.
I really like Navigator's Compass.
Well, sometimes if you have really powerful cards in your pool and you don't have the fixing, you might have to make some sacrifices, and Navigator's Compass is one of those sacrifices. Now remember, it doesn't ramp you, but it does kind of fix your mana. It's, if you remember Mana Silex from Invasion Block Draft, that's a similar effect, except it's gaining you 3 life instead. But that was a much different format, I guess, where you were often just playing multicolor no matter what. In this format, I don't think that's necessarily something you need to do. But hey, if it works, it works. All
right, we're going to get in there with the Cloud Reader Sphinx. Ashford drawing First Blood from Harp here.
I see Memorial to Glory on Harrison Harp's side over there as well. So, something like a Wild Onslaught could turn this back for Harp's position.
Ooh,
Charge is probably not going to be good enough. Oh, yes.
Ooh, that's a good draw. Icy Manipulator off the top.
This card is just too good. I'm just going to put it at that. It's too good.
Okay, if that's true, which, go ahead, Maria.
Sorry, Wizard's Retort here is going to send it to the graveyard. Oh, wow, that's painful.
See, it's not too good at all. It's in the bin.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's just how you deal with it.
No. It's so good that it needs to be countered.
There'll be nothing better than that to get rid of. Okay, fair.
Wizard's Retort costing only 2 there, so basically counter spell, thanks to the wizards that we have on the battlefield.
Notably, the Daring Archaeologist now a 4/4, which means it could potentially, not any longer.
There it goes.
Could have potentially attacked into Ashford's side of the board.
Fiery Intervention.
Assuming that everyone who opens an Icy Manipulator is going to play
Absolutely.
it, is that just in and of itself a reason to have one main deck, Broken Bond, Invoke the Divine, whatever you want to call it, to deal with that and its friends?
I think you are definitely starting your first enchantment or artifact removal spell in this format.
Okay.
And sometimes you're even bringing more or starting more. Because, it's not just the Icy Manipulator, but there are sagas in this format.
Yeah.
You know, those are enchantments. There are things like the Helm. Oof. You equip that on a creature and it triggers once.
You're done.
Yeah. Your chances of winning that game are way down there.
All right, there you called it, Kenji. Shauna, Sisei's Legacy hits the table for Harp here.
All right, that's pretty nice. 2, 4, 6, right? Because the 2
Oh
cavalry.
yeah, you're right. Sorry, that's 2
Yeah.
names.
And that's one of the cards that Harp's going to need to get. I mean, if he has something like On Sarah's Wings, ooh.
I would like to see that.
I would very much like to see that because Harrison, even if he had an Academy Journey Mage, you can read Shauna right there. Can't be the target of abilities your opponents control.
I was very confused the first time my Shanna died. How did that happen? Oh.
Wow, Grun the Lonely King here for Harrison Ashford. Kicked! So this thing is enormous. That's right, it's a 10/10.
The
and
thing is,
still rubbish.
Yes, yeah. It's
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Those little sapling just block it.
So it effectively turns into an abyss, but at this point, we're going to see Ashford attack with more than just the Grun the Lonely King. A 10/10 is obviously good enough on its own. We're going to see that Cloud Reader Sphinx still get in there as well.
We're going to crack this Memorial to Glory. We're going to get a couple of soldier tokens here.
All right, that is a very large Shauna. She can almost fight with Grun. And
wow, that's crazy.
Trade.
Yeah, I imagine Grun sitting alone in his palace rooms, and then periodically he turns up in the throne room, and the Chancellor just raises a weary eyebrow and says, "Somebody get me some saprolings."
I mean, is he getting bigger when he attacks by himself because he's so sad, he's so lonely?
No, he gets enraged. He gets
He's
enraged.
mad.
Yeah, it's like, who wants to play?
Okay.
No, who wants to play?
I see.
That may not be canon, by the way. just, yeah.
So Harrison here, really only in danger from that Cloud Reader Sphinx at the moment, is just going to pass the turn back over to Ashford. 1 card in hand left for Harp.
Yeah, I see a few cards that Harp has in his list that he could potentially draw to stop the Sphinx from continuously beating down. Now, the Icy Manipulator we saw was countered, but he has something like an Ancient Animus, which he could fight with. He has a Pierce the Sky main deck.
Oh, nice.
Territorial Allosaurus is very good. He has that.
Excellent.
Sarah Angel, of course, not too shabby herself.
Ancient Animus on that Shauna, too, would be pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like Pierce the Sky, running that in the main and sealed?
Yeah, if you don't have enough removal or you know you're going to be weak with flyers, I think it's okay to main deck that card. You're not always going to do so, but in a color pairing, maybe like green, white, if you don't have your spiders, if you don't have too many flyers of your own, then sure.
And here we go, Gideon's Reproach from Harrison Harp, taking down that Cloud Reader Sphinx.
All right, that's a good start.
Oh, that is so close, because Harrison's the older boy and Winston's the younger one. If it had been Winston casting it, it would have been Reproach of the Second Son. So close. I could have used it.
Get you Lava Runner here, the play from Ashford. That's strange to see.
That feels a little bit out of place in his deck. I liked everything else so far. Maybe he just didn't have enough playables in blue and green that he had to make some sacrifices. Compass and Lava Runner being a few of those. But for the most part, his card quality has been very high.
And a Sarah Angel joining the team here
There it
for
is.
Harp.
Okay.
There she is.
Well, the problem being that Tatiova is still gaining life and drawing cards for Ashford over here.
Yeah.
And you can already see how much life was Ashford at to begin with? 18?
18.
Has been 9 turns, has been 9 life.
Yeah.
And 9 cards.
And
Yeah.
oh, divination. Let's draw some more.
I think outside nonsense rares or mythics, Tatiova's my favorite card in the set.
Yeah,
it's
very
just,
good.
just again, never disappoints.
Beautiful art as well. So many of the cards this set have just impressed me so much. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous set. I'm hoping to see some of those stained glass night tokens hit the table this weekend as well.
Oh, I guess the Navigator's Compass gained 3 life, so
Oh yeah, that's true.
only 6 cards and 6 life off of Tatiova there, but... All right, some more red cards.
It's the Gidu Journey Mage.
Journey Mage, yes, going to deal 2.
4 actually with
Oh,
Navon.
4. You're right. Parpa's going to drop down to 7.
Pizza Girl.
Yes.
Well.
She's getting that pie out of the oven.
Now, people are never going to unsee that. You know that.
Well, that came out from Bologna last week. That's courtesy of Hall of Famer Olorada.
Pizza Girl.
Yeah.
Corrosive Ooze for Ashford here. Just a 2/2 for 2, as there's no equipment on any creatures on Harp's side of the battlefield. Grun the Lonely King, though, is going to kind of try and force the issue as Harp is at 7, attacking for 20. Ooh, run amok. Fingers crossed.
Oh, that would be a good reason to, well, no, I wouldn't say a good reason, but that would be a nice one to have.
That would combine in a
Yes.
meaningful way
Yes.
with an otherwise unimpressive card.
Correct.
Harp here just going to chump block, saves himself, from death.
Grun and Run Amok are both good cards, okay? You know, they're better combined, of course, but... Well, Sarah's going to start chipping in
Yeah.
here.
Sarah versus Benthic. Who would win?
I'm going to predict that Yo Kendrick 972 is watching us on mute, because Yo Kendrick has just said in chat, Ashford is probably waiting for the instant that gives +3/+3 and trample to target attacking creature. Yep.
Let's see. I think if I were Harrison, I might... Well, no, I guess Shauna's still too big to really... Oh,
Ooh.
okay.
Icy Manipulator for Harrison Ashford here.
Well, that's really good for Harrison.
Yes.
I would even consider start using this on the offensive. Normally, you're using Icy Manipulator on your opponent's turn to not only stop a creature from attacking, but then on your turn that creature stays tapped. But I could see him being at 23 life, not worrying about the Sarah Angel so much, and trying to get in with a more massive creatures. Now, remember, you cannot tap the Shauna. That does not work.
Nope, he's trying to right now. That is an ability.
Oh, maybe he was pointing to the Sarah instead.
Okay.
It could have been, yeah, behind.
Either way, Sarah Angel is going to be tapped
Sure.
down here this turn. And we'll see which of the team Ashford wants to get in with.
It's possible that Ashford maybe passed... No, never mind. I was going to say maybe he passed priority, and that was on Harp's turn. But, of course, he hadn't even attacked the Grun yet.
Yeah, and we're just doing the singular Grun the Lonely King attack once again for 20. Sapperling just jumps in front.
Attacking once again for 20. What is that?
Just like it's a normal, everyday thing, Rich. Dominaria is a special place.
Yeah.
Harp's actually making some good work here. This is what he needs to do to win. He just needs to continuously chump, find some extra blockers, hope that Ashford makes some ill-timed Icy Manipulator tap.
Untamed Kavu here for Harrison Harp. And I've heard you call this card Mythic Uncommon.
I was just going to say, that's a Mythic Uncommon. Card's just very, very
So,
good.
yeah, just explain what you mean by that, because that's a little sort of inside baseball for some people.
Sure,
so
sure.
Just explain what you mean.
Yeah, so this has the quality of a lot of mythics, let's say. You know, something that has such a huge impact that can win the game on its own, but it's an uncommon, and it has multiple varieties to it, right? You can cast this on turn 2 if you need a 2/2, and it still has Vigilance and Trample. But later on in the game, if you have 5 mana, and this doesn't even require colored mana to kick, you can just cast it for 5 as a 5/5 Vigilance Trampler, which can win the game on its own. So as far as commons, or rather uncommons are concerned, this is one of the top.
Right, and another reason we call it a mythic uncommon is because it's so powerful, people pick it early, which
Yep.
means you don't see it
Exactly.
in your booster packs when you get past, for the most part. So it's a very unusual sight when you're drafting.
Yeah, in the draft, we would call that a big signal if you see this coming to you.
Right. Either A, green is open, B, the player to my right cannot read, C, both.
Are you, well, now that Kavu is down on the table, I was going to ask if you're just tempted to kind of swing for the fences here if you're Ashford.
I don't think that's quite a good attack just yet. Now, Harp is getting low on life. He is at 7, but, you know, you're not too worried since you're still at 20. You can still just force Harp here to just keep chump blocking for a little while until you have an overwhelming mass. You don't want to run into some scary trick or something like that that kind of blows you out.
Kenji, you have the deck lists here.
Sure, absolutely.
Does Harrison Ashford have a Wild Onslaught? +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. If it was kicked, 2 +1 counters on each creature you control.
You're asking about Ashford?
Yes.
He does not. No.
Okay, so that's one route to certainty taken away.
He does have one in his sideboard, but not in the main.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh, really?
Well, I mean, he's not really the super wide go wide deck.
Sure.
I guess that's what's happening here, of
Right.
course. But
Fundamentally, that's not
right.
how it's going to play
Exactly.
out. Okay.
A little update from one of our other tables.
No, don't do that
Oh,
because
no.
we're
Oh,
going to
that's-
show it.
Oh, okay.
We're going to let them see it actually happen.
All right.
little update, something happened in that game.
Something happened.
There was a game and somebody won it.
Yeah, not much Harp can do here. I mean, even if he attacks with his 5/5, Ashford can just double block with, yeah, exactly, his 4/4 and 2/3.
Right.
And if Harp doesn't have anything, then, this is just a straight-up trade for the 4/4. Even if he does have something, that's not too much of an issue. Again, the 5 damage is not going to be entirely too relevant here when Ashford's still at 20.
Kavu's going to go fall down here for Harp.
And more importantly, he's losing an extra creature that
Yeah.
can effectively chump. He's losing a creature, so Shauna's power and toughness get lowered.
And meanwhile, Ashford has just been gaining life and drawing cards like nobody's business.
Let's see, 2, 4. 12, 29. So, if I'm counting correctly, and there might be a few cards hidden in the graveyard, Ashford probably only has like 10 cards in library, maybe a few fewer.
Really?
Yeah.
Decking for the win.
Remember, that is relevant. Tatyova is not a May. If you play a land, or if a land enters on your side of the battlefield,
Yep.
you have to draw a card and gain the life.
You must.
You must.
I love it.
And that does become relevant in this format. Again, it's a little bit slower, it's a little bit grindier. You don't think that's going to happen. You think normally, well, I'm just going to card advantage my opponent out, but sometimes the games go long enough, your opponent is also grinding just as well.
Decking. This is how.
That's definitely an out. I don't think in this position we're going to see that, not with the Icy Manipulator and the Abyss effect of Grun, but something to note in this format that can certainly happen.
Do you think this game is emblematic, Kenji, of kind of how this format in Sealed is going, which is, like we said, grindy, long, relying on cards like, Tatyova, that sort of thing?
Only because Tatyova hasn't died. This is what's going to happen when a Tatyova doesn't die.
Sure.
So if we see, through the weekend more games with this Benthic Druid and more games where she survives, then yes, games are going to look like this.
Any deck that has either green or blue, 100% should be splashing Tatyova. Discuss.
I think for the most part, I think I was talking with Maria a little bit about this. If you're playing green, you're often going to be splashing for cards like Slimefoot or Tatyova. If you're blue, maybe your fixing's not as good, but you still have cards like Skittering Surveyor that can find you your secondary color. And if you
love Skittering Surveyor.
Yeah, I think one of the best cards. As I was saying though, if you have the means or your power level's not there without that card, definitely. I would run just like 3 forests and the splash card itself if I was base blue and didn't necessarily have many more green cards, but definitely one of the cards that you consider splashing, certainly.
All right, the time has come for Harrison Ashford to send his entire team into the red zone here. Harp has some work cut out for him lining up blocks.
Yeah, I mean, so the block with Shauna, remember, is going to look good on the surface of things, but as soon as Harp's other creatures die, Shauna is going to get reduced power and toughness, and she's going to die afterwards as well.
We have a soldier in front of Grun, the Lonely King, over there. Block here will take down one knight with the Journey Mage. And Shauna was blocking Naban. Harrison falls to 1.
Okay, so he made a block to where he didn't lose enough creatures to lose the Shauna, which is good, I guess.
Call the cavalry. Let's build up the board a little bit again here.
Yeah, unfortunately with that Icy Manipulator, he is still dead on board from the looks of it. And, well, even with that huge attack here, like, that's 12 damage that he can attack Ashford here right now. You know, with
crazy.
No blockers, but that's just like half of Ashford's life total because of the Tatyova.
Yeah, Tatyova here, definitely, I would feel pretty confident saying 1 Harrison Ashford this game.
Yeah, you're in between a rock and a hard place right now, and Icy Manipulator's that rock.
Sarah Angel here going to do some good work getting in for 4, but...
Yeah, impressive Sarah Angel is just, again, Ashford's way too far up.
All right, we're going to once again gain life, draw a card from my very thin library.
Yeah, you can see not too many cards left down there, but oh man, I'd be thrilled if somehow Harp survived this turn. Island, Hammered Explorer, you.
Have you milled somebody out yet, Kenji?
I have not.
Oh.
Not with that card at any rate. And this does work. Remember, Sean only has hexproof from abilities, so you can target her with spells. The first time, you know, my Shauna got targeted with a Vicious Offering, I was like, wait, what?
What? Yeah. Blink of an Eye there was the play to send a creature back to Harp's hand, which Blink of an Eye has been one of my all-time favorites, and Harrison Ashford going to take down game 1 here versus Harrison Harp.
All right, so in the Battle of the Harrisons, it is 1-0 to Mr. Ashford. You see on the right of screen there, and just about you can see a little bit of Harrison Harp's mum. There she is, Mariah, watching all 3, husband and 2 children, all in feature match action. We're going to bring you more from the Harp family in a little bit. I can tell you that the game featuring 10-year-old Winston, pretty entertaining. There's some stuff going on there, and that's going to be our Time Warp match. Sorry, Dad. It turns out your son's got a more interesting match than you have. And that looks
hey,
like
who's in the background there?
Look at that. Some
in.
giant.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, so Harrison Harp against Harrison Ashford will continue. 22 minutes left on the round, Kenji. So half an hour for game 1, essentially. Is there anything you can do, not specifically with these 2 decks, but for you when you're playing Limited? Clock management once you're 1-0 down. How aggressively do you go through your sideboard going, I have to win 2 games, my Saproling long-term plan may not get me there, what can I do instead?
That doesn't necessarily take too much, or at least for me, into consideration.
Okay.
Like, obviously, what you should have done during deck building is just see if you have other possible decks that you can sideboard into and probably sleeve them up already if given the opportunity. Because a lot of the times you're going to have similar quality cards in specific colors. Like we saw Harrison Harp there with a green-white deck. Maybe he has a comparable quality deck.
Red-white aggro.
Exactly. Red-white aggro, perhaps, or red-blue or something like that he can, you know, quickly swap over to. So that's something that you should be looking for during deck building, especially in these sealed type events.
On the right of screen, you've just seen that the lady there going, 3 from the same family?
Yeah, she knows that all too well.
She certainly does.
That's
Who is she?
Kiefer Mom.
That is Mrs. Kiefer, indeed. Someone else joining the family road train to GPs, and that is quite an adventure. Because honestly, if you follow Brian Brown Doing on Twitter, you know that it is a miracle that he gets to any event ever, as he books himself the wrong plane out of the wrong airport with no hotel to the wrong weekend in the wrong city in general, and still somehow manages to turn up ready for round 3 or 4. But once you bring in mum, dad, 2 kids, all the luggage, all the homework that has to get done between Thursday night and Monday morning when you're back at school, it is quite the adventure. So hats off to the whole family.
I really love the idea of like a family playing Magic together, especially siblings, because it gives them something that they can have in common, something that they can, enjoy together and consume media of together. Like we're listening to the podcasts, we're watching the videos on YouTube, and it's really, really exciting because you're going to these big tournaments and something you kind of pour your heart and your life into at that age when it becomes like your main hobby. I'm just kind of jealous at this. I'm like, I wish I played Magic when I was that young, which I did, but I didn't know what I was doing. There wasn't a Marshall and Unlimited Resources to tell me that I was wrong.
Or a Maria and a Megan on Magic the Amateur.
Sure enough.
Well, some of us find limited resources too droll, remember?
Exactly.
There was nearly a beverage accident in the booth there, just so you all know. All right, let's get to it. Here comes game number 2. 20 minutes left on the round, so Harrison Harp is going to have to get his skates on. Let's see how he opens. It's Forest, and he has a turn 1 play.
Ooh, Llanowar Elves.
Hooray.
How good is this card right now, Kenji?
Very good. You're always going to play this in your green decks. It's just so solid on turn 1 and frequently good enough in the later stages of the game, especially in a deck like Harp's here. We saw him go pretty aggro, and he had quite a few 4-drops, Call the Cavalry and whatnot, multiple Saproling migrations with Kicker he wants to be casting as well. So we'll see if he casts anything big with this or if he just starts getting in,
Yeah, Llanowar Elves picking in there for 1 damage here from Harp. Chooses to play another Forest from his hand instead of the Plains. Do you ever do that just to kind of get maybe a minor angle or upside on making your opponent think you don't have your second color?
Oh, sure. And, it's very possible he has something like a Steel Leaf Champion in his deck as well, where he'd want the triple green on, sooner than later. I think he just drew a Shauna for the turn as well, but
awesome.
We'll have to see what he lines up here. I think he does have that Plains, right? Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so 4 mana available to Harrison Harp if he wants to spend it. The Baloth Gorger play here would be pretty strong. Shauna, very good as well.
Don't you wanna?
Absolutely. Just a 2/2, but not for long.
And this could be a huge problem for Harrison Ashford here if he can't deal with the Shauna. We saw his deck. It's a little bit slower. Even if he just plays like that Tellerian Scholar this turn, any one creature from Harp is going to let that Shauna get in.
Divination here from Ashford, who's really gotten off to a slow start. Drawing cards, of course, is great, but you've got now a Shauna and a Llanowar Elves to contend with already, and you haven't added anything to the battlefield.
Yeah, and he was on the draw, so he had to actually discard there as well. And this is the thing that you want to see from Harp. Your opponent's going the long game. They only have a Divination here on turn 3. You're potentially attacking in for maybe 5-6 damage this turn if he has, say, Call the Cavalry.
All right, looks like a Llanowar Envoy here for Harp. Bumping that Shauna up to a 3/3, getting in for 4. Saproling Migration plus Shauna, best friends.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Saproling Migration, cutest card in the set, do you know what the playtest name was for it?
I do not. What is it?
It's
What
so cute that it makes me just so mad that they changed it. It was called Best Buds.
Best Buds. All right.
That's pretty clever.
Isn't that cute?
But what happens when you kick it? You have 4 buds?
Yeah, they're all Best Buds.
Oh,
they're going on a trip.
Okay. All right. So it looks like Harrison Harp didn't play a land that last turn, but of course the Llanowar Elf helped him here. And
there
that
it is.
Tellerian Scholar that we were talking about, and that does not do very much against the Shauna, and it still just trades with the Envoy. We know Ashford has multiple wizard synergies in his deck, and so he might not even want to lose this creature this turn. Now I think you're probably forced to because you're already falling so far behind, and it'll make the Shauna smaller if Harp does decide to attack with a 3/2. But this could be one of those quick games that Harp needed to push to a game 3.
Yeah, things looking pretty good here for Harp. Let's see what he casts this turn. We're going to tap 4. Ooh, Territorial Allosaurus. How about a 5/5 for 4?
Yeah, this card is just so good. 4 mana for a 5/5 in limited is already an amazing rate. You know, we have some things like the Baloth Gorger, which is a 4 mana 4/4 and a solid common already. But the fact that you can play this on turn 4, or even 3 potentially if you have, you know, some ramp, as a 5/5 is already huge. And then later in the game, you top deck it, you have 7 mana. Oh, I'll just kill, you know, your Cloud Reader Sphinx and get a 5/5. Is that good?
Gross. Yeah, Harrison Ashford already down to 8. Decides to trade here with the Envoy.
Yeah, it still takes 4 damage from the Shauna. And now his things like Wizard's Retort, you know, they cost their full amount of mana now. If he has an Academy Journey Mage in his deck, it costs 5 now instead of 4.
That Allosaurus there, too. If you kick it, of course, you can fight another target creature. But great restraint there, just playing it as a 5/5 for 4. I'm always like, oh, but what if I waited?
Normally, if you kick a dinosaur, things aren't going to end well for you,
No.
But
All right, there's a Cloud Reader Sphinx from Ashford. 3/4 flyer, scry 2.
But Harp needs only to play 1 creature here to attack in for 9.
I think he's got Pierce the Sky in hand as well.
Oh, gosh. Delicious.
And Ancient Animus.
Oh, so he has a choice of tricks here. Now, the reason he would use Animus here is because Shauna's a legendary creature, so she's going to get that +1/+1 counter, making her a 4/4 eating the Sphinx. Now, this means he's not going to have as many targets for Pierce the Sky, I would imagine.
Right.
I think a lot of the time you want to use your more prohibitive removal spell before you use something like Ancient Animus, which was already going to be good because he has a 5/5. But, you know, this pushes in extra damage, right?
Yes.
This puts Ashford at 1 life currently, which means an attack from Llanowar Elves next turn is going to be lethal by itself. So I like this line. He's already so far ahead. There's not much that Ashford can do with potentially 6 lands next turn.
All right, Ashford here dropping down to 1. Big attack from Harp. And I can't really think of anything that gets Ashford out of this.
He could have a Sapling Migration of his own just to chump.
Chump forever.
I mean, that would buy him extra chumpers, which is good, but...
No, we're done.
Just going to pack it in. Harrison Harp tying things up here 1 game apiece in round 1. Grand Prix Dallas-Fort Worth. Mom watching in the background.
So let's do an experiment. Do we think she's got earpiece in right now? Because she's clearly watching the stream on her phone.
Yes.
So if we go, Mum, give us a wave. You're on screen right now. Yes, it's you. Go on, give us a wave.
She's having a conversation. She's
muted.
not listening to us
muted.
anymore.
Yeah.
Wait for it, though.
Wait for it.
Slight delay.
No, I don't think it's going to happen.
Very sad.
Oh, well.
Communication's just pretty lame, really, isn't it? You know, not like we're sort of magically sending packets of information all over the world and then back into a phone 20 yards away or anything.
No.
Meanwhile, Harrison Harp, I can tell you that one of the other matches is done. So Dad has already finished. Won't give you the result of that in case we get to show you some of his match later on. But my hunch is, with 12 minutes left in the round here, that by the time these 2 Harrisons are done, it'll be time to check in on Winston, the 10-year-old, the sports-mad brother. Harrison more into books, but the 2 of them combine for love of MTG. So we'll see how the younger Harp brother fares. There is some really good stuff in that match, I can tell you.
Harrison Harp here, just 12 years old, made day 2 of his first Grand Prix ever attended. Well done. It was a modern Grand Prix as well, so pretty high learning curve there. But Harp managed to do it. Loves the game, plays with his dad and younger brother. Dad was in the store one day, found some decks, like, oh, I think I'll teach my kids this game. Seems fun. I played back in college. And it has turned into a family affair. Everybody plays the game, enjoys it, listens to podcasts, has a great time.
Especially yours.
Yeah, I didn't even day 2 my first GP, and that was limited. He day 2'd modern.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That is quite the skill level there.
All right, Ashford here going to take a mulligan, and Harp is going to join him.
And this definitely favors Harp more than it does Ashford. Again, Ashford's playing 3 colors. We saw like a Lava Runner in his Cloud Warrior Sphinx Grun deck. Harp, on the other hand, has a solid straight 2-color, low-curve, aggressive deck. So we'll have to see if that plays out on these mulligans to 6. Because you know what could happen? Harp might just play Saproling Migration turn 2, and the 1/1s, you know, they might deal 10 damage, 8 damage. You never know.
Modern was also my first Grand Prix I ever attended was.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
With the Bogles?
It was.
Dear Harrison Harp, thank you for putting that broken bond off screen. You are untilting numerous people in chat by doing so.
Oh, did he draw 7 there? I think he might have.
Oh, hold on. Don't look. Don't look.
Oh, there. Okay. Phew.
Yeah. Well done.
Whew. Close one. I have done that as well. Okay, there we go. Scries all around. Both on top. And we are underway here for Game 3 in Round 1. Grand Prix Dallas-Fort Worth playing some limited Dominaria.
Elf.
Yeah, there we go. What did you want,
wait.
Kenji?
Okay, I thought that was an adventurous impulse. I saw a little bit of a glare there.
Llanowar Elves here for Harrison Harp. Corrosive Ooze from Harrison Ashford.
All right, now if Harp has Migration, he probably doesn't want to cast it out, seeing that Ashford already has the 2/2. But, you know, if he has any tricks in his hand, then maybe he still runs it out. He does have access to 3 mana, though, so we'll see if he has something better.
No turn to play here from Harrison Harp. Back over to Ashford.
Okay. Well, that means he probably just has some more of his powerful 4-drops in hand. Which
Well, I saw one of them, Icy Manipulator.
Oh, there you go.
Adventurous Impulse.
And you know what? The shields are down for Ashford, who doesn't have the Wizard Retort open.
All right, we're going to get that Tolarian Scholar for Ashford off of that Impulse there. And there, just like we drew it up, a Mountain for Ashford. Perfect mana. Turn 3, Corrosive Ooze in for 2, and we'll knock Harp down to 18. All right, we're going to tap 4 here from Harp, and we're going to call those Cavalry.
And this is a good play from Harp there. Like, you don't need to play your Icy Manipulator when you can't even activate it unless you're trying to specifically play around a counter. You might as well get your creatures down right now. They stabilize the board. They can actually attack into the Ooze itself. And, you know, next turn you can play a land, Manipulator, and still activate it if he chooses to. Depending on what Ashford does this turn, you know, we might even see Harp tap down one of Ashford's lands.
Oh, sure. That's a good point.
Right? On Ashford's turn, of course.
Corrosive Ooze getting in for 2. Harp goes down to 16. Those Knights are not going to block. And Tolarian Scholar here, the follow-up play from Ashford.
Yeah, and we see how annoying the Scholar is versus this Call to Cavalry. It's just like, I guess I'm not attacking right now.
You know, we talk about in limited sets the magic number of toughness and power based on the environment that we're playing in. What do you think that number is for toughness? Is it 3 or is it 4? Kind of like the most important number that you want.
I think 3 and 4 are actually pretty significant, both pretty significant in this format. There are enough like 3 damage burn spells or 3 damage effects or 4 damage effects that, you know, as long as you have one or the other versus specific decks,
sure,
you're going to be fine. So versus Harps, for example, you really want those 3 toughness creatures. But maybe versus another deck, you know, where they have mono 3/3s, you want to have those 4/4s or X4s instead.
Icy Manipulator here hits the table for Harrison Harp.
And it looks like he used that aggressively on the Scholar to get in for 4 points of damage with the Vigilance Knights last turn.
Nice. I like it. Divination here. We'll draw Ashford a couple of cards.
Sure.
Slowing the game down.
Not too much Ashford's going to be able to do with 2 mana. So, yeah, he's going to go swing for the fences and take a race here.
All right, what do you think? If you're Harp, do you like to race in this position?
Yeah, you're probably fine with that, knowing that you have the Icy Manipulator to keep things in check.
Naban, Dean of Iteration there for Ashford. We saw Naban, you know, has the potential to do some very silly things.
Right, and You know, we were talking about that Academy Journey Mage with Naban, but especially good versus, say, Call the Cavalry.
Oh, yeah.
Your 2 tokens? No, thank you.
Sapperling Migration here. For Harp, we're going to get 4 Sapperling Friends.
Okay.
Where's Shauna?
I actually saw it in Harp's hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's opting to go with the more expensive, more mana-efficient play this turn, getting the Sapperling Migration down. I might have been slightly tempted to resolve the Shauna here and still use the Icy Manipulator. Just that way you could say...
You just have a safe block.
Right. Well, Migration next turn and then have a huge Shauna that can, you know, deal half your opponent's life total. Another line that Harp could have taken was play the Shauna, unkick the Sapperling Migration for 2 1/1s,
right,
and still use the Manipulator, which would have been an effective use of his mana and still gotten, you know, a large creature on the battlefield.
Wonder where those Sapperlings are going.
Poor Naban. Trades with just a Sapperling.
Yeah. What?
Wow!
Karn's Temporal Sundering here for Harrison Ashford. This is the first time I've seen this card resolved.
Does he have 6 mana? Does he have 3 islands down there? I can't.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I see one under there.
Yeah, just
Yep.
a
Just the
little bit
corner.
hidden. Okay.
So he's going to take an extra turn after this one, and he gets to bounce something. So he bounced a Night token. Wow.
Yeah,
The number of times I've seen this card just stuck sitting in somebody's hand with doing absolutely nothing is quite high. So I'm, really excited to see it here in action.
Yeah, I think Karn's Temporal Sundering is not one of the legendary sorceries you often want to play. First of all, you need a large number of legendary creatures or planeswalkers. Remember, you can't just have a legendary permanent. You have to have a specific type. You have to have a creature or a planeswalker. And unlike, say, something similar to, Jaya's Immolating Inferno, this card doesn't do quite as much. In fact, I think Ashford just passed back the turn after
Did he
taking,
really?
Right? He untapped and passed.
Oh.
And now Harp is just playing out another creature.
Yeah, and here's the thing, a lot of people when they start playing Magic or they're newer players think taking an extra turn is like the be-all, end-all,
Sure,
right?
yep.
It's one of the Power 9. It's something that you absolutely want to do, but here's a great illustration of how it just didn't get Harrison Ashford far enough ahead at all. He just passed it back.
And it looks like Ashford has 3 legendary creatures.
That's kind of low, I would think.
Yeah, he has the Tadiova we saw in the first game, the Grun we saw in the first game, and then the Naban that we just saw there.
And Harp able here to mount an attack, getting in with all 4 Sapperlings, Llanowar Elves, and the Knight.
He actually brought in the Temporal Sundering from the sideboard.
Oh, really?
Oh, charge!
Oh.
Yes, this attack was fairly suspicious, if you ask me, and there's the charge from Harrison Harp, giving creatures +1/+1 until end of turn. So the Llanowar Elves will trade with the Corrosive Ooze, and Naban going down in that deal as well, leaving Ashford with just a little Tolarian Scholar. A very fine preview card.
Yeah, so Harp played his Shauna pre-combat when he didn't need to, maybe to see if Ashford might have had that Wizard's Retort in hand.
That's a great play. Heads up there
yeah,
from Harp.
Knowing that the coast was clear, the charge was much more effective. And I'm not a huge fan of charge, but it's one of those effects that you like in this type of deck where you have multiple Sapperling Migrations, multiple Call the Cavalries.
Fire Fist Adept here from Ashford is going to deal 2.
That'd be very good with Naban right now.
Yes. But in this case, just going to take down a Night token.
Yeah, but Naban's in the bin.
Naban in the bin. And maybe that's one of the concessions he made for Wizards. He's running that Get to Lava Runner. He just wanted that extra Wizard synergy.
The Adept, definitely one of the better payoffs.
Yeah. Firm control now in Harp's position. And that's a great draw late in the game, If he finds a creature, sweet. If he finds a land, sure. Looks like he found a Daring Archaeologist.
Yes. How many adventurous impulses are you happy to play, Kenji, in your sealed?
Honestly, 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, it'll be one of the first cards that I cut, but I'm not unhappy running them.
And here's a Daring Archaeologist play from Harrison Harp, found off of that impulse.
Sure. Pre-combat because, of course, the Shauna this time. And let's see.
Don't think there's anything to get back, but...
So it looks like Shauna is going to be a 6-6 currently. I might just attack with the Shauna without using the manipulator here, because Ashford would not even have a good double block. And then you can use the manipulator on Ashford's turn, potentially even tapping down a mountain if you wanted to, for instance.
Right.
If he's going to make this play, it's likely that he's attacking with all of his creatures. As such, this will be a force block on the Shauna, which is still a good play, right? He gets in for 4 here. Ashford only has 2 mana open.
All right, there we have it. There's the attack with everything.
Yeah.
Tolarian Scholar just has to chump block that Shauna.
And so if he was going to tap a creature anyways, and if Ashford was going to chump anyways, it would be slightly better to tap the 2-3 and make your opponent chump with their 3-3. But, I mean, you're going so wide here that it's going to be very, very hard for Ashford to get back from this.
Down to 4 to Harp's 12. And, yeah, Ashford has seen enough, and there it is. Harrison Harp extends a hand,
Alrighty.
winning round 1 here. Harrison Harp, 12 years old.
So, welcome back to the booth. That's match 1 of round 1 taken care of. We're going to see Winston, the 10-year-old brother of Harrison, in just a little bit. Now, I think what we ought to do, I'd like to have a word with Harrison, but I don't want to spoil anything for these other matches, so perhaps we'll save that for a bit later on. What we're going to do, in fact, is have a little break here, and when we come back, we'll set up that Winston Winston sealed, not Winston draft. So we're going to head to Winston's match, where, as I say, quite a lot of things occurred, it's fair to say. So we're going to have a good match for that coming right up. As you can see in the background, it's just about time on the round here in round 1. So that's what we'll do. We'll head off to a quick break, and when we come back, more action from the Harp family. Hello everyone, welcome back to the booth. We're at the back end of round number 1. We're very excited. Rashad, our director, is very excited because he's already seen some of what's been going on in the Winston Harp match. Now, we're going to join it partway through, and Winston, as we join it, has already won a reasonably lengthy game 1, around about 15-20 minutes for game 1. So we're about halfway through the round as we join this in progress. So let's head on down to the feature match area and show you what happened in game number 2 of our Time Warp match featuring Winston Harp. He is just 10 years old, and here we go. We're underway with Traxos on the right of screen for Jason Isaacs. And meanwhile, Khan, Sign of Urza, is in play for Winston Harp.
Great. I love it. This is fantastic. Yeah, Karn already at 6 loyalty. We've exiled an Arcane Flight as well as a Swamp. Windgrace Acolyte also in play for Winston Harp here. Traxos, Scourge of Krug, is tapped for Jason Isaacs.
Do you see what's in Harp's exile zone too, or graveyard?
Lyra.
And a Yargle. And a Danatha?
Holy
what is
cow.
this? Just mono legendaries over here.
Winston does have some quite good cards.
Holy man.
Yes.
Wow, and he's got a full grip as well and Eviscerate too right at the front. And I think I see
This deck looks amazing.
a Rite of Belzenlock as well?
Yeah, double Eviscerate.
Is that I think that's a Saga. Yeah, that's the Rite of Belzenlock.
And an Icy Manipulator?
Oh my gosh.
This deck's really good.
Winston Harp, you are doing it, friend. All right, the Acolyte is going to get in for 3 here. Isaac's down to 17.
Life total is still pretty even here, but now with the Manipulator, that Traxos is going to be so much worse.
Wow.
All kinds of tapped.
Oh, gosh. The only thing that you could really do is have, if you had a Wrath in your deck, right, you'd be able to flash it in after the Manipulator tapped your Traxos again, but...
Quende, Pride Ephemerif here for Isaacs.
And that will untap the Traxos, but again, with the Icy Manipulator now, Winston is just...
Like, whatever.
Leagues ahead.
Tap that down. Good night, Traxos.
You have to make sure you're doing this in combat phase, though, in begin combat, right? You don't want to do this on main phase, because then the opponent could still have an opportunity to play another historic card. But, wow.
Wow. Winston Harp living the dream here. Draws an Opt off the top. Playing 3 colors here in this sealed deck.
Okay, so he's probably running just straight up 3 color then. As Opt, generally you're not playing in a, or as a splash card.
So, Winston, I hate to break it to you, but some life lessons. You're 10, and you've just built your best sealed deck of all time.
Yeah, doesn't get any better than this.
Move on to Constructed. You're done.
I'm just so jealous right now. There's a Gideon's Reproach in his hand as well. And by the way, I've got to say, 10 years old, building a 3-colored sealed deck is not easy. No. I remember building my 3-color, first when I was playing multiple colors in sealed. I'm like, how many lands do I run? How many numbers of, my splash color am I allowed? This kind of thing.
Right, and it's not easy to teach either. You can't say, first of all, find all your unconditional kill spells, play all of those, they'll be in black and red. Then you need 15 to 16 creatures, ideally they're all black and red. You can't just pass that kind of instruction list if you're going to be building a deck like this. So hats off, Winston. Good job.
Yeah, excellent work here. Getting in with the Windgrace Acolyte. And the first striker. Boom, boom, boom. In for 5.
Taking a look at Isaac's deck list, see what he can do to potentially get out of this very problematic situation.
And we're going to add that Arcane Flight to our hand, which was exiled with Karn's Silver counter. Are we sending a Cleric to the air? I think we are.
Okay, I mean, those aren't defenders. They are 0/1s, but they can attack.
Back over to Jason Isaacs, who is currently at 12 now after that attack.
I imagine Jason was real excited when he made Traxos, because potentially he had that out on turn 3 via,
it is a scary turn 3.
Elf, yeah.
Turn 3 play for sure.
Yeah, just to confirm, people in chat asking, is it possible that some of the rest of the family could have helped Winston build his deck? No, it is an isolated, in silence part of the day. So you spend 30 minutes in silence building your own deck at your own table. It is not a combined effort in any sense. All
right, we're going to make 2 knights here with Call to the Cavalry from Isaacs. back over to Winston Harp. We're going to go to Chapter 2 here, make 2 more 0-1 clerics on that right of Bells and Lock, and I can't wait for that demon to hit the table next turn.
And that's, again, we see the issue with Traxos here. Isaacs didn't have a card or a historic spell to untap it, and so, you know, Harp was able to just use the Manipulator on a different creature, this one being the Quende, the only good attacker.
An embarrassment of riches here for Harp on the table, in hand and in the graveyard.
Yes.
Called the cavalry of his own.
Yeah, and he's in no short supply of creatures to sack to that demon once it hits the battlefield.
Karn ticks up. Let's take a look. I've got a Feral Abomination and a Plains.
All right. Make sure that goes. Yep.
And we're just going to keep attacking in the air, the Acolyte and the Sarah Disciple in once again, as well as this 0-1 Cleric, which has become a 1-2 flyer.
Yeah, this is actually pretty close to a 2-turn clock in the air if Harp could have found some more historic cards to trigger the Disciple.
Online pairings for round 2.
Right, we have a trick here, it looks like from Isaac, Seal Away on the Windgrace Acolyte. Very efficient removal spell.
Online pairings for round 2 of the main event are already up.
So Isaacs will drop down to 10.
Paper copies at this moment. Please find your seats.
Incidentally, just to cover our bases, obviously we're on an overhead shot here. It would be pretty embarrassing for us if this was the Jason Isaacs, movie star Lucius Malfoy from the Harry Potter series. I don't think it is, because I'm guessing Mark Calderaro, our showrunner, might have told us if it was. But just in case, don't say we didn't mention it.
Icy Manipulator for Jason Isaacs, movie star of his own. Let's just start that narrative.
Well, he's on screen right now.
That's true.
Big part in a two-hander.
No, I don't see him slither into victory in this match, though.
Ooh, nice.
Oh. Yes, we may have to show you the Gryffindor after that one.
So this is, I mean, he's going to be able to make this demon, but Isaacs has that Icy Manipulator.
I can tell you, since pairings are up for round number 2, that there will certainly not be a clean sweep for the Hart family, because Jeremy, Dad, boo, lost in his match.
Oh, come on, Dad.
So it's 1-1 for the Harps at the moment, with 12-year-old Harrison winning, Dad, Jeremy, indeterminate age, because all dads are of an indeterminate age, lost. And now Winston at 10, trying to claim the round for the Harp family, as it were.
Yeah, so Karn finally died there. Decent attack by Isaacs. He had a historic spell, my Icy Manipulator of his own, to untap the Traxos. Harp was forced to tap down the Traxos again, but then Isaacs could use the Manipulator to force through enough damage to kill the Karn, although Harp is still way in the lead here, and now it's him that has the untapped Manipulator. So what he can do is, end of Isaac's turn, he can use his Manipulator to tap Isaac's Manipulator, and then again tap another permanent on his turn. So we have a Manipulator battle here. It's
Wow.
Yeah, things get a little crazy.
It's magic as Garfield intended, right?
He helped him with the set, so
Well,
yes.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Actually, yes.
Oh, this looks like a big card. Oh, okay.
Bailiff Gorger kicked here.
I mean, that is a big card,
Yeah,
but
another 7 or another 8/8.
bye.
Well, if eviscerate.
That is a sorcery, though. You have to make sure.
Yeah. Not really going to help out.
Not ideal sequencing
Right,
there
I
for
think-
the end
I
step.
think
Yeah,
you
this
might
is
have-
interesting here. By the way, the Bailiff Gorger, it becomes a 7/7.
Yeah, this is Time Walk. I think he forgot to sack a creature to the demon on upkeep. I could be. Oh, there it goes. Okay.
Yeah, the Demon and Icy Manipulator combo, like sometimes maybe you just are sitting there and able to wait it out.
Feature matches for round
Incidentally, we have some terrific players coming into the feature match in round number 2. Obviously, we had a completely different focus for round 1 at the start of MTG launch, but there are at least 4 very good players who have made their mark on the world stage in round number 2. Coming up, when I'll be joined by Marshall Sutcliffe and Paolo Vita Dama de Rosa.
115. Please report to the
Pretty good draw from Isaacs. Fiery Intervention,
Yeah.
of course, with that secondary mode of being able to destroy an artifact instead of 5 damage to a creature. So taking care of the Icy Manipulator. Now Harp could have tapped down the Manipulator there. It looks like he tapped down the Elf instead. Maybe just get rid of an extra blocker, although I think all of his cards have flying anyways. Relevant creatures anyway.
Dark Bargain here from Harp. Will take 2 life, be able to draw some new cards.
Welcome to round 2. You have 50 minutes.
Academy Drake. Here the follow-up play and keeps getting in the air. Isaac's down to 5, speeding things up here on our time walk match.
Yeah, the Rite of Belzenlock demon, unlike some of the other demons we've had in Magic's past, it doesn't tap itself if you don't have a creature that you can sack to it. It just deals 6 damage to you. So you can still attack in and whatnot.
All right, Isaac's down to 1, and there's the handshake. Winston Harp wins this match 2-0.
All right, so congratulations to Winston Harp, congratulations to Harrison Harp, commiserations to Jeremy Harp and Mariah Harp. Hope you enjoyed that. And grandparents back at home in Arkansas, I hope you enjoyed seeing your whole Harp family in harmony in round number 1 of Grand Prix Dallas Fort Worth. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Marshall, PV, me for round number 2. See you in a minute.